Welcome back to the Scuffed Ass Podcast for episode number 182?
3.
82. You might be right, but I don't want to admit it. Wonder's back, though. That's what matters. Or doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm saying he's back as if he's not the co-host of this thing.
Right.
But he's back, so that's something.
Yep.
YouTube,
Back
you really
from
got to
last
stop showing me somebody else's podcast that is not called the same thing as mine when I look for my podcast. Thank you. Thank you. No, this is actually 184. We're both stupid.
It look like I'm supposed to keep track.
Yes, you're the co-host.
It's been a whole week. I forgot what I did yesterday.
Same. Well, no, you played D&D yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I recorded Madden videos. One of them went up today.
Yeah, I know. I just looked at it.
Episode 1.
I opened it and liked it, but I haven't had a chance to actually watch it yet. So
Valid.
we were doing this, so.
For sure. For sure. We do have an actual topic for today, so that's fun. But that's all I know.
That was you.
I don't know if there's anything else going on. I don't know. How's your week going?
Oh, I'm ready for, I'm not ready for 10-hour days, but I am ready for a day to, actually be able to sleep in, even though I'll probably only sleep till 6:30, but that's still 2 hours more than what I'm going to get, what I usually get, so.
I'm tired.
I bet you are. How long have you been awake?
So not that long in reality. I got up at 10. But I also fell asleep at 8.
Yeah, I know, because I know you sent me our topic videos at 3 o'clock this morning, so.
Yeah.
Because I was awake.
Oh, why were you awake? That's unfortunate.
Because the fire department got paged to the hay fire again.
I didn't know there was a hay fire.
Yeah, at the sale barn, there was a massive pile of loose hay in the back.
Yeah.
And
I think you told me about that.
Yeah, it's been on fire for the last 2 days. I think they finally, at 3 o'clock this morning, they finally got fed up with it, tore the fence down, and drug everything out into the street. So that street's blocked off at the moment, so that they could spread it out and water it down. And I think they finally got it put out, and now they're loading it into trucks and taking it God knows where. But I mean, it's not good anymore, so just haul it off somewhere for, get rid of it.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know. Fire's fire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm trying to find a TLDR of everything that's happened, because my brain doesn't
Want to function?
My brain doesn't want to remember everything, so I just want to see. I would like an easier breakdown of everything. Give me a whole thing. Unfortunately, they didn't do a WAN show this week, so we didn't, which is wild. So, okay, we'll start with this. Linus Tech Tips. Maybe. What the fuck are you doing?
I was looking up the videos that you sent me, and I was gonna.
And you opened up your porn?
No, it wasn't porn. It was TikTok.
Same thing. No.
That close, but not quite.
No. So they one of the biggest tech YouTubers in the world, maybe the biggest, I can't remember at this point. 15 million subs, Linus Tech Tips. They're in some hot water at the moment. Which is something. Probably not great, but it exists. So it started with a Gamers Nexus video where, now we've seen this before with Gamers Nexus. They really like to call out LTT for lots of things. Back when we had this whole conversation when the backpack came out and the whole Trust Me Bros scandal. where basically they did pre-orders for the backpack, but they didn't have a warranty listed on their site, so people were mad. Linus on WAN Show was like, "This is stupid. It's not about what we write down on paper in legalese that is easy to get out of. It's about our track record. It's what we've said about every company. It's not about trusting the words they say. It's about trusting their actions." And that got flipped into him saying, it was just trust me, bro. I'll take care of it. Which is like kind of the point. It's like base it off of everything you've heard before. It's the trust me. Don't trust the words out of his mouth. Trust the actions of the company, which at least when it comes to that, have always been really good. So Gamers Nexus made a video back then. I didn't send this one to you, but basically he's screaming about how that's not how it works, even though that's how everyone tells us to review every tech company, is not to listen to their words, but listen to their actions. But suddenly when it's a colleague of yours, you got to go out of your way to make them look bad. So he posted a 45-minute long video called "The Problem with Linus Tech Tips: Accuracy, Ethics, and Responsibility." Now, he makes some actually fair points in this video. The rushing all of their videos, so there are like minor mistakes that should be caught. That's a valid complaint, but it's also one Linus has addressed and how they're trying to work on it. But I think a lot of people forget Linus's team is a lot bigger than theirs. LMG is like a real company. They have over 100 employees. It's not just, I'll just change it. It's not like how I can work, where somebody says, hey, this is bad, and I go, okay, I'll change that process in the future, and the only person who has to change anything or do anything different is me. This is a whole system that has to change, and that takes time. And LTT's employees agree with him in a video Linus isn't supposed to watch. That was an exclusive where his employees just answered questions about what it's like to work there and work for him, and they're like, we just wish we had more time on each video, which is fair. Linus absolutely has put an arbitrary wall on himself. We have to have an LTT video every day. Why? I mean, I know, more money, but right. Is it worth rushing the video out today if it's going to be a bad video?
Right.
It's like the mindset change I've had.
Yeah, I've always been a quality, not quantity kind of person.
It's like the mindset change I've had with YouTube. We were doing the one video a week thing, and now I'm back to doing multiple videos a week. But I don't know, if there's a Wednesday and I don't have anything made, I'm not going to slap together a shitty video and just be like, well, I posted something. Fuck that. Make better content for Friday then, I guess. Like, find a real idea and not just slap stuff together, which seems to be a bit of the LTT problem right now, is just rushing to get things done, which is unfortunate because we've seen what their team can do when given adequate time. This is a YouTube company that created, like, by actual tool reviewers, one of the best screwdrivers in the world, because they were given the time to perfect it. If they did that with every video, nobody could touch them. But they have this weird arbitrary deadline on everything that isn't perfect.
Yeah, and they imposed that deadline on themselves.
Yeah,
so.
it's all self-imposed, which is the biggest issue. Now, some deadlines have to happen. You get a GPU for review, and the embargo lifts at 6 p.m. on Thursday. Yeah, you got to have the video ready by 6 p.m. on Thursday, because otherwise you're late, and there was no point in making the video.
Yeah.
If you're the last person to put out a video, you might as well not.
Right, yeah.
In those specific instances. If it's just a video about water cooling a Nintendo Switch, take the time, do it right. But those are simple fixes.
Yeah.
But Gamers Nexus really tried to drive home that it's just like a shitty company with only shitty practices and like just tried to belittle LTT. Now, the bad data is also tough, but I also want Gamers Nexus to not forget he posts videos with bad data sometimes because we're human. We make mistakes.
Right.
Yeah. Goes over different errors in like GPU reviews where maybe the testing methodology wasn't right or a setting was marked or whatever. And if you do it wrong once, it'll be wrong for the entire suite because that's because you're keeping the settings the same. So if it was wrong once, it's wrong forever. And that's tough. And like these errors are worthy of being brought up and they do need fixed, and calling them out for it is important. But belittling them as a company might not be the way to do it.
Right. The issue I had was them saying it was a shitty product. Yeah, sure, you might have messed up on the testing the first time and human error, but then say it's a shitty product, and then people bring up the fact that, hey, you didn't do it properly. You know, there's been errors, human error. You need to retest this, and then they just turn around and double down on,
that is the
this is just shitty process. I'm not going to pay more money to actually review it the way it should be. I'm just going to double down and say it's a shitty product. You shouldn't buy it.
It actually was worse than that. Oh my God. So we'll actually get into this part in just a second, but I'm going to find Linus's response because it was tough.
Yeah, it was rough.
I don't know.
He had a couple of those that was rough.
Linus does the thing that most people do, but the thing you can't do when you're the one running a company. You can't speak just out of emotion immediately. You can't take it to heart. You got to take time. But we're going to go back and continue looking at the Gamers Nexus video. So talk about the errors and how when they fix them, it'll just be an asterisk in the video, which I think is fine in most cases, but maybe not. So this is the next part where it gets weird, is he tries to claim ethical bullshit by like they're working with Noctua on a screwdriver, and how is that really ethical when you review Noctua products? All I can say to Gamers Nexus is, in that case, is it ethical for you to take sponsorships from every tech company that every one of your videos is sponsored by? Since you review their tech, you can't point the finger at somebody else when you're wearing the same shirt. That's not how it works. You do the same thing. Now, yes, this is a product that's repped by the other brand, but that doesn't change anything. It's the same screwdriver. It's a colorway that they were going to do whether Noctua agreed to it or not. Now they just actually get to call it the Noctua edition. But, like, that doesn't change the product. And based off of how every other tech reviewer works, including Gamers Nexus, the conflict of interest either isn't there or it is, and then you need to look at your own sponsorships. You can't take a sponsorship from Asus if you're going to review Asus products, if you're going to have a problem with how LTT is doing this. That's actually just not okay. You can pick it one way or the other. And I tend to believe as long as the thing I'm reviewing is not what sponsored the video, there's no conflict of interest. Because you can be objective and have the video be sponsored by D-Brand, and then tomorrow review something from D-Brand sponsored by MSI, and there was no conflict of interest. They paid for a different piece of content. This piece of content, I'm allowed to rip them. And if they never want to sponsor me again after that, tough. I'm sorry. I do get to speak from experience here, and Wonder gets to speak from the experience of watching me do it. It's not unethical to accept sponsorships from stuff you review. It's just unethical to give it a positive review for giving you a sponsorship. And I've never done that. And we've also cut sponsors off for being shitty. And LTT does the same. Gamers Nexus does the same. This is a very weird thing to call out. At least the screwdriver. And I don't know if I see any other thing he's bitching about there. Now, the big one was the Billet Labs situation. So Billet Labs sent LTT a mono block for a GPU, for GPU water cooling. that was a prototype and was meant for an RTX 3090 Ti. For whatever reason, it was shipped to them with a 3090 Ti that they didn't use for the testing. They put a 4090 on it, and it performed poorly.
Well,
now, yeah, that's not what it was engineered for. It doesn't surprise me that it performed poorly. Now, Linus does have a point. Whether this was tested on the correct GPU or not, that does matter. But is this a viable product for 99.99% of people? No. It's almost $1,000 water block. It costs as much as most people's computers just for the cooler for your GPU. And even when it's on the right GPU, it's not better than just a regular acrylic water block.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a point in saying that in that case, it doesn't really matter because it wasn't a real viable product. But this whole, we aren't going to retest it with the correct GPU because then I have to pay my employee to deal with something that doesn't matter. Test it correctly. That's not
Right.
how we...
That's
If
your
you
whole
want to
job.
test the 4090 version of it just to see if it works, sure, that's just fun. Like, I want to see if this works. It might not, but you also can't shit on the company for it not working. They told you it was designed for a 3090 Ti. They
Right, plus
sent
it was a
you a
prototype.
3090 Ti. Yeah, like, but so
Like-
the video itself was rough. Go ahead. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
But- Well, my thing is it was a prototype. They sent it for a review. They were supposed to review it on a 3090. And yeah, sure, it might not have performed, greatly, but it's a prototype. They're attempting to create something that is good or
Sure.
competes with the best products out there.
Yeah,
And they were looking for, them to test it out so that they know what they need to do to make a better product. And then he just kind of shit all over it and then didn't test it like it was supposed to. And then, pretty
Right.
much,
and I
Didn't even
agree
give
with
the company
shitting
a
on the price of
chance?
it. I agree with shitting on the price of it.
I agree.
An
yeah.
$800 water block makes no sense at all, ever. Like, I'm
Right.
good. But like,
I agree.
also, but test it properly, and you can say that it's like way overpriced and whatever, but let people see what it is, right?
Right. Like, you have a lot more credibility if you test it the way it's supposed to be tested, rather than going off doing your own thing and then looking like an ass.
Yeah.
If you just do it the right way, and then you could say, hey, even testing it on what it's supposed to be tested on, the specs were not up to par.
Sure.
I wouldn't recommend buying this product.
Right.
That's a lot better than the way he went about it.
Yeah. And then
And
it
then
got
turn
worse.
around and turn around and double down and make yourself look
Well,
even worse.
Not only double down, but then after some communication error with Billet Labs wanting it back, LTT auctioned it off
Mm-hmm.
at LTX. Now, we heard in the response video that this was just truly miscommunication on a couple of different places. Still not great, though Gamers Nexus did misinterpret how this went down. LTT did offer to pay for the prototype in full, whatever the company thought it was worth. Not just like the raw copper, but like pay for it. Like, we fucked up. All right, whatever. We'll handle it.
Right.
Well before any word got out about this happening. Like, once LTT figured it out, they tried to make it right. Nobody wants to bring that up. I'm sorry if we're going to be here talking about this part of it. We're going to argue for both sides because that's how this works. We are not picking a side here. We're just relaying the information, and I don't think there is a side here. I think both sides kind of fucked up.
Right. Well,
Not,
I will
not
say
Billet Labs. Billet Labs did nothing. But LTT and Gamers Nexus both didn't handle
Right.
this properly.
yeah, I will say, it does suck that they didn't get the prototype back, because I can see where that would put them behind on, because they built that and they were planning on going off of that prototype in order to move forward with their products and their projects and stuff. But now that they don't have it, it puts a big old hindrance in the progress that they've made. Now, I don't think it was a good idea to send your only damn prototype
Yeah,
for review.
Because what happens
That
when
was
that gets
not
lost
smart.
in the mail? That's
Exactly.
That's my first thought. It's not that a reviewer's gonna sell it, and people calling him a thief over that, and like he just stole from them and sold it for profit. None of that is how that went. First of all, again, it was just an actual honest mistake that happened that caused it to get sold. But all that money went to charity. It wasn't like a for-profit thing. So like, and I don't want to hear the like, well, it's a tax break. When you just say that, I just know you don't actually understand how taxes work. Me buying a new computer is a tax break, but I also still had to pay for the computer. It doesn't like magically become free. That's not how that works. Just to throw that out there. But this is something I don't think I got to show you. But this was Linus's response to the entire video. To Steve, I expressed my disappointment that he didn't go through proper journalistic practices in creating this piece. He has my email and phone number along with numerous other members of our team and could have asked for context or literally anything, like the fact that we didn't sell the monoblock but rather auctioned it for charity due to a miscommunication, and the fact that while we haven't sent payment yet, we have already agreed to compensate Billet Labs for the cost of their prototype. There are other issues, but I've told him I won't be drawn into a public sniping match over this and that I'll be continuing to move forward in good faith as part of Team Media. When and if he's ready to do so again, I'll be ready. Not the greatest response, but that is fair to a point. Most of the time when you're creating a piece talking about what people do, you do reach out for comment from them. And every time he's talked about LTT, he doesn't. But only when he talks about LTT. When you go watch any of his other expose videos, oh, well, Asus did this thing. We reached out to Asus for comment. But you're not willing to reach out to Linus. That feels a little odd. Just based on the track record of all of your other videos like this where you reach out to people. Not based on the fact that it's just Linus.
Yeah, that just tells me you're worried that he'll have an actual valid argument.
Maybe.
Or,
To my team and my CEO's team. So Linus stepped down as CEO of LMG a couple months ago. He hired somebody else because, as he said, I'm not good at the business part of this. That's not what I do. I just want to make the videos. So he hired somebody else that's better at it, which is really weird because he's still like the owner. So he's the boss of the CEO, but the CEO is then also his boss because he's just the video guy. Very odd, but not the weirdest thing I've ever seen, so it's okay. But to my team and my CEO's team, realistically, I was at the helm for all these errors, so I need to own it. I stress the importance of diligence in our work because there are so many eyes on us. We are going through some growing pains. We've been very public about them in the interest of transparency, and it's clear we have some work to do on internal processes and communication. We have already been doing a lot of work internally to clean up our processes, but these things take time. Rome wasn't built in a day, but that's no excuse for sloppiness. Now, that is fair. They are always very open. When they make a mistake, they own it and then just try to figure it out from there. And they still are to a point here, though in this specific post, there feels like a bit of deflection.
Yeah.
But when you have a full-on hour-long hit piece out on you, you're going to try to deflect a little bit.
Right.
Now, for my community, all I can say is the same things I always say. We know that we're not perfect. We wear our imperfection on our sleeves in the interest of ensuring that we stay accountable to you. It's sad and unfortunate when this transparency gets warped into a bad thing. The Labs team is hard at work, creating processes and tools to generate data that will benefit all consumers. A work in progress that is very much not done, and that we've communicated needs to be treated as such. Do we have notes under some videos? Yes. Is it because we are striving for transparency and improvement? Yeah. What we're doing hasn't been in many years, if ever. Weird. And we would make much larger corrections if the circumstances merited it. Listing the wrong amount of cash on a table for a CPU review is sloppy, but given that our conclusions are drawn based on our testing, not the spec sheet, it doesn't materially change the recommendation. That's valid. Just because it's labeled wrong on the picture in the video doesn't mean anything to do with the recommendation changes, whether it was labeled right or not, because it was all based on the testing, so blah. That doesn't mean these things don't matter. We've set KPIs for our writing and labs team around accuracy, and we're continually installing new checks and balances to ensure that things continue to get better. If you haven't seen the improvement, frankly, I wonder if you're looking for it. The thoroughness that we managed on our last handful of GPU videos is getting really incredible, given the limited time we have for these embargoes. I'm really excited about what the future holds. Now, that is fair. You can see how they've improved. And I think that's the other thing people aren't getting is LTT is trying to take this shift from just, like, entertainment tech videos to, like, really in-depth tech videos. And that's a big difference, and it takes a different amount of effort, and they're just figuring that out now. It's going to take some time. And again, I'm not trying to defend everything they say, but you're also doing a great job at playing the other side, so I appreciate that. But
right. Well, I mean, I get the other side,
yeah,
you know.
I get both sides, but I am also, for better or for worse, a LTT fan. But I don't watch every video because I don't frankly care that much about half of them. But what I do watch is every WAN show where they talk about any errors that they've made and they own up to everything. And just because they don't do it in a video that you watched doesn't mean they don't do it. Not everybody wants to watch the 4-hour WAN show. I really like to have that on in the background while I'm doing other work. Working on thumbnails, it's just a podcast. I just listen to it while I'm working on thumbnails for the week. It's great, but it's different. But yeah, I think people are seeing what their end goal is and thinking they should already be there, which is tough. With all that said, I still disagree that the Billet Labs video, this was the double down that's not ideal. Not the situation with the return, which I've already addressed above, is an accuracy issue. It's more like I read the room wrong. We could have retested it with perfect accuracy, but to do so properly, accounting for which cases it could be installed in, none, and which radiators it would be plumbed with, again, mystery, would have been impossible, and also didn't affect the conclusion of the video. Or so I thought. I wanted to evaluate it as a product, and as a product, if it can manage to compete with the temperatures of the highest end blocks on the planet, it still wouldn't make sense to buy. So from my point of view, retesting it and finding out that yes, it did in fact run a little cooler, made no difference to the conclusion. So it didn't really make a difference. Again, I see both points on this because I do get that the conclusion of what that video would have been doesn't change whether they tested it properly. It's just about the fact that watching it matter. Like, testing it properly matters to the viewer, maybe not so much to the conclusion of the video, which is that fine line.
It also
you have
matters to the company that they're reviewing for. They specifically sent it to you. If you don't want to review it the proper way, then refuse to review it.
Well, no. So that's the thing. It's not just a review. Well, it is, but it isn't. But it's weird. And they just sent them a product, and they made a video, and it's, I don't know. This one's tough, but, like, reviewing it correctly is the right way, and doing both is okay, but...
Right. Experiment with it, I mean, but still, you gotta, at least throw in the data of the correct way so that you
Yeah.
can see through the company who made it. You can see through their eyes on what they might see on, what it could turn into.
So Adam and I were talking about this today. This was the other guy that was part of the Billet Labs video, the writer for it. Adam and I were talking today. He advocated for retesting it regardless of how non-viable it was as a product at the time, and I think he expressed really well why it mattered. It was like making a video about a supercar. It doesn't matter if no one watching will buy it. They just want to see it rip. I missed that. But it wasn't because I didn't care about the consumer. It's because I was so focused on how this product impacted a potential buyer. Either way, clearly my bad. But my intention was never to harm Billet Labs. I specifically called out their incredible machining skills because I wanted to see them create something with a viable market for it, and was hoping others would appreciate the fineness of the craftsmanship, even if the product was impractical. I still hope they move forward, building something else, because they obviously have talent, and I've watched countless niche water cooling vendors come and go. It's an astonishingly unforgiving market. Again, people saying this is a cop-out, he straight up just owned that it was his fuck-up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see where it's a cop-out. He explained to you his reasoning. That's not a cop-out. That's telling you, this is why I did what I did. I was wrong, but here's why. Like, at least
Right.
here's the process. Sometimes I think you can't do right no matter what you do when you try to fix an
Somebody's
error.
gonna be mad at you no matter what. but,
Yeah.
I still think he was wrong, and
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely. But I don't think that part of the apology, like, he straight up just admits, like, yeah, that's on me, my bad.
right.
So I don't know. Either way, I'm sorry I got the community's priorities mixed up on this one, and that we didn't show Billet in the best light. Our intention wasn't to hurt anyone. We wanted no one to buy it, because it's an egregious waste of money no matter what temps it runs at, which is true. And we wanted Billet to make something marketable, so they can, eat.
Mhm.
With all of this in mind, it saddens me how quickly the pitchforks were raised over this. It also comes across a touch hypocritical when some basic due diligence could have helped clarify much of it. I have a long history of meeting issues head on, and I've never been afraid to answer questions, which lands me in hot water regularly, which is true. That is how he
True.
gets in trouble, is answering all the questions so honestly on WAN Show. But that's also why I like LTT so much. They're so open. And I'm kind of worried this situation might change that.
Mm-hmm.
Is WAN Show going to be dead and they're not going to be open about it anymore? That would suck.
Right.
That would suck. The only reason I can think of not to ask me is because my honest response might be inconvenient. You're not wrong. We can test that with this post. Will it was a mistake, a bad one, but a mistake, and they're taking care of it, reality managed to have the same reach? Let's see if anyone actually wants to know what happened. I hope so, but it's been disheartening seeing how much people are willing to jump on us here. Believe it or not, I'm a real person, and so is the rest of my team. We're trying our best, and if what we're doing was easy, everyone would do it. Today sucks. Thanks for reading this. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, none of that was good, but it's comeback fromable. Those were words.
All right.
But, hey.
It's not something you can't redeem yourself from. you know?
Right. Now, the tweet I sent you is
Oh, you
where it...
don't even want to talk about the mouse, huh?
No, I don't care. Dude, okay.
I didn't care
no,
about that one
so,
either.
Also, here's my thing with the mouse and the way Gamers Nexus talked about the review of it. It wasn't a review. Short Circuit, that's the channel it was posted on, isn't about reviews. It's unboxing and like fucking with the product. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a review. So they fucked it up. Okay, you've never fucked up an unboxing? All right, whatever. I don't care. I really don't. like they got called out for it, whatever, but they had also already mentioned that they fucked it up in the video with connotations. So like, I'm sorry, did you want them to reshoot the video? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, so this tweet is long and not so fun.
Yeah, this one's the rough
The tough one.
part. Yeah,
I don't know.
especially if it has any validity behind
Right.
it.
And we don't know. And one thing I will say, we'll get to this when we get to the end of it.
Mhm.
So Madison, or what she's now known as Suop, I think is how you say her name. She was hired to be LTT's social media manager after she was on the LTT channel for an Asus ROG rig reboot, where the fans really liked her. So they like badgered Linus. He hired her as social media head, and apparently that wasn't great. So Madison, here's the tweet. It's a long one, so we're going to be here for a bit.
Buckle up.
To stop the speculation and DMs I am receiving, I chose to quit my role at LTT because it and the working environment I was facing were ruining my mental health. The number of daily items the social media role at the time was expected to fill was incredibly high. I was expected to post 3 tweets, 2 Instagram posts, and 2 TikToks minimum per day. I don't want to sound cunty, but that's really not that much. I'm sorry, it's not. It's very simple stuff.
Maybe not for you, but in her
When your only
mind, it
job
might be.
is this, I'm sorry, it's not that much. Well, so there was this one other thing. Plan, film, edit, and post 2 float plane exclusives per week. They didn't have to be big deals. But that's 2 YouTube videos a week, right? 2 10-minute long videos. 3 tweets a day, 2 Instagram posts, and 2 TikToks. That is not that much for an 8-hour workday. Because you're going to split those videos up like 2.5 days apiece of working on the big videos. 3 tweets is not that hard. You can literally just post a tweet that says memes ? You want to know how I know? Because they did it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually not that hard. This isn't the part that I really care about. That's why I'm judging it so bad, is because this just seems like weird complaining about your job being too hard when it really wasn't.
Right.
You know?
I still feel like, because that sounds like it's 7 days a week. I still
It's
think
not.
it wasn't. Oh, well then,
Nope.
yeah. If she had days off, then I'm not that
Yeah, she did. So
behind her anymore.
this
She
is-
made it sound like she worked 7 days a week and had to do this.
No. But
Yeah,
this
that would get old after a while.
this included wrangling people to be in them when they were also struggling to get their work done. I was also expected to manage, plan, and come up with, execute, get approval for, and schedule out all sponsored content on socials, not including YouTube, all while being told not to complain because my job was the fun job. Well, I mean, in comparison to what everybody else at this company has to do, kinda. I cannot speak on what it's like now, but they have an entire team working on seemingly what I was expected to accomplish alone. As far as I can tell, it's like 2 people, but they also, I don't know. That's the thing. They never really did TikToks ever
Mm-hmm.
when she worked there or now. Whether they were expected to or not, they don't actually post them, so I don't know. I misspoke originally when I stated I had signed an NDA. I thought employee handbook acted as one. I'm not a lawyer. Funny.
Obviously.
Yeah. I never publicly made any statements regarding my time there because I feared even more backlash from a community that was already attacking, defaming, and sending me death threats. That I believe the internet is wild. Not just the LTT community. Every community that's ever existed is scary.
Mm-hmm.
That just is what it is. I can't blame LTT for this. They can't control the way the mob on the internet works. That's like actually not how it goes. I also feared for my future in this career, given that LTT is large and has industry connections. That's fair. My time at this company brought my mental health to an all-time low. You could talk to anyone who was around me during my employment, and they would confirm it. I would not have recommended anyone I know to work there, especially with my experience as a woman in the office. I was constantly belittled by certain members of upper management. My work was called dog shit. I was called incompetent. When I reach out to managers and try to get help with these situations, I would be told to put on my big girl pants and be more assertive. Now, I believe most of this, but I also wonder, and you can speak to this because of how I am.
Mm-hmm.
I call stuff you do sometimes dog shit,
Right.
but I don't know. Is it because we have the pre-existing relationship's a weird word, but that's what it is. Like, we know each other, whatever. You're allowed to call me on my shit. I'm allowed to call you on yours. That's how we've always worked. You do some dumb shit, I'm going to tell you you're a fucking moron.
Yep.
And you're not going to get all like, oh, what an asshole. You're just going to be like,
It's
fuck,
constructive aggression.
right? And we're both that way. But like, so part of me wonders if it's kind of supposed to be that. Like, the one video that we didn't post because the filming wasn't perfect, and I was like, that kind of fucking sucked, dude. Like, was it like that type of thing, but they just didn't have the relationship, or it got misconstrued as like way worse than it was? I'm not saying that's what it was, and I'm not trying to belittle what she feels at all. That's not what I'm just curious for the most part.
Yeah.
My other thing is, if you're going to bring this out publicly, I really wish you would have said who it was. Because now you've got random people being accused of being awful, and it's like, I'd rather just know who you're accusing. So I can know who I'm supposed to, like, not be a fan of anymore. Because everybody's like, it's Linus. It's like, she didn't say that, though.
There's a lot of people that work there, so.
Right, and there's a lot of people in upper management, as you saw in their apology video, which their apology video didn't include anything about this, and that's because the tweets were posted like 2 hours before they posted the apology video, so like nothing they could do about that. But yeah.
But I feel like, I mean, it not saying that it didn't happen,
right,
but it kind of invalidates your complaints if you don't specifically state who it was.
Right. Some members of upper management, like, who though? Was it Linus? Was it James? Was it Luke? Was it Colton? Was it Yvonne?
Yeah, we'll never really know unless she actually comes out and says who it was. You know,
or the investigation that LTT is doing. So they hired an investigator, which people are saying isn't okay because they hired them, so they're in the pocket of the investigator. Who else is going to hire the investigator to look into it other than the company? That, like, nobody else gives a fuck.
I was about to say, the person giving the complaint didn't bother to hire one. Then what? You know, I think it's better than nothing. At least somebody's looking into it.
This is how this always works. Companies always hire third-party investigative teams. Nobody else is going to pay for this investigation to happen.
I was about to say, it's called HR.
Right? Like, Jesus.
This is what HR does. If there's a
and this is not a complaint at Madison. This is a complaint at the idiots on the internet.
Right.
Just making that clear.
Yeah.
Because I believe what she's saying. I'm just more curious as to who. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
that means the world.
Right. That matters. Like, if it's Linus, then yeah, I want to hate the whole company. If it's just some other person, then it's like, okay. So LTT is still fine. They just got to get rid of James or whoever. And I don't want to I keep seeing the internet try to blame somebody, and it's like, I'm not okay with that yet. We don't know who.
You literally can't be like, oh, I bet it was this guy. It's like, no.
No.
You cannot, that's not how the law works in the United States. You're not.
Well, this isn't the law. This is the court of public opinion, and LTT is losing.
Right. But public opinion tends to be obscured, and that's why public opinion should be, never taken into consideration. You know what I'm saying? I believe on facts. and
Yeah.
proof. Show me the facts and proof before I start pointing fingers. You know.
But I'm willing to believe this stuff was said, undoubtedly.
Right.
But
yeah. I'm
again,
not
it's
saying it didn't
the
happen,
weird
no.
context of how it goes and misconstrued things, at least for that part of it. And she goes on to say, it doesn't matter if you think I am or am not stupid. This behavior is not appropriate, which is true. After enough complaints from me, I was pulled into a meeting. In that meeting, the writer's room was pointed to, and I was asked, do you think any of these people would have a hard time getting a job? I said no. Keep in mind, this was about a month into working there. I was then pointed at and asked, what about you? I was scared, and I remember asking, are you going to fire me? I was laughed at and told to stop being so pessimistic, as if my job and ability hadn't just been vaguely threatened. Yeah, I don't know. Weird, but that one, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I was then
I feel
asked,
like I've seen that in a movie once.
right? I was then asked to agree to a verbal no drama contract. The verbal part is important. Yeah, it is, because most places verbal contracts aren't withstanding. But some places they are.
Mhm.
Like here. Yeah. In this moment, I realized I was no longer considered part of the team. I was now a threat because I was putting up a fuss when I believed I was being treated unfairly and inappropriately. This verbal agreement wasn't right. It was a behind-the-scenes warning with no record. A warning that came very shortly after I had come forward stating I had been inappropriately grabbed multiple times in the office, amongst other issues. I was barred from being in videos, so when you ask what happened, why wasn't she in more content, this is why. And that's where it gets bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not ideal. And again, doesn't say who, it doesn't say whether it was upper management, just other employees, I don't know. Which is unfortunate, because again, I would like to know who we're not supposed to like, you know?
Right.
I don't know. There's this perplexing fear that people will leave LTT and start their thing if given a platform. Oh, wait. Yeah, no. Yeah. Sorry, I got lost in where I was in the tweets. There's a perplexing fear that people will leave LTT and start their own thing if given a platform. So if that platform could threaten negative things coming out about your company or you'd probably want to squash it too. In my experience, there is a belief that everything you accomplish, no matter how much it was created by your own effort, is actually due to Linus giving you a platform. This was what I was told when I moved from Arizona to Vancouver to take this job. To be fair, that is partially true.
Mm-hmm.
Linus is the one who gained 15 million subs. So when you are shouted out by Linus and start to grow, not everything you accomplished, but definitely part of it is because of him, and
Mm-hmm.
you accept that or you don't. It's kind of like the John Cena thing, where John Cena, the WWE owns the rights to the name John Cena, even though that is his legal name. Cena's like, I don't care. I'm never going to fight for it. Yeah, Vince gets his share of everything I do because of that, but I don't care. Because if it wasn't for Vince, I wouldn't be able to do everything I get to do. So I get to pay that back a little bit. And so, like, maybe that's just the way some of us view it and not how the rest of the world views it. That's how I view it. If you're the person who helps get me to where I'm trying to go, yeah, you deserve some of that credit. No matter how hard I worked for it, if you're the one who pushed me over that edge or up that mountain, then yeah, you get some of that credit. Definitely not the lion's share, but you should get some. Then after it was publicly announced by Linus that he was hiring me, without my knowledge or consent to that situation, which isn't entirely true, this was a misspeak. After a public post was made that I would be getting hired, I was sent an employment contract, which I did read over and sign, but the post was made before I had seen the contract or signed it, which is tough, but you could have still said no if you wanted to. Pressure doesn't mean you have to do something. That's like actually not how that works.
Right.
But I also get it, so I get bringing it up. I had been asked and been told during my interviews that I would be allowed to monetize my YouTube channel and be allowed to join Flowplane in exchange for shutting down my Patreon. Once I moved, I was presented with an entirely new contract and handbook that I was not told existed. It detailed that I was given incorrect information and would actually have to make changes to my plans if I wanted to continue being employed at LTT. This was after I had moved entire countries and given up my visa status. I couldn't just go back. Some corrections were made as apologies for the miscommunication, but I was still upset. I later went to Linus about this and stated that the effort to remediate the situation wasn't sitting right with me. He told me perhaps I should change my priorities, this is where I'm going to look like a horrible person. If now the pre-giving information that like monetize your YouTube channel and stuff, that's not great if you're going to say no. But like if I go to work for LTT, my priority should be the work there, not my own YouTube channel.
Right.
You've accepted a job, that is now the more important responsibility. If I accept a job as Tim the Tatman's editor tomorrow, editing his videos is more important than getting my content out. That is actually how that works. The priority is with the person who hired you, not with your own project. Whether you like that or not I don't know. Don't know if that
There's
matters.
nothing to say that you can't,
Still do
work
it.
and grow yourself and then, decide to leave someday and then focus on yourself, But you still signed a contract that states that you are now employed under this company. The company doesn't want you to focus on, your own product. They want you to focus on theirs. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hired you.
Yeah. Somehow, and this is a line I'm not understanding. He told me perhaps I should change my priorities. He was in this instance referring to the fact my brother had suddenly passed away, not even a week before I moved to this job, and that perhaps I should just ignore that I had been misled because that was more important. I don't think he was at all referring to the fact your brother passed away. I think it was just your YouTube channel versus his when he's paying you. I don't know. The way this reads is very weird. And
To me,
are you saying you
just
should ignore the way you were misled and focus more on your brother, which is also valid?
valid.
I don't know. I'm not seeing the issue
To
there.
me, that sounded like she was trying to get sympathy points there
Right?
by
And
bringing
like
up her dead
all
brother.
the other stuff
because,
I'm fully into. Right here, that just weird.
yeah.
Um
But to me, it sounded like he was saying, with your brother passing away, perhaps you need to, rethink your priorities. Maybe, focus on, your mental health with your family.
right. And
But
we'll never know what the
yeah,
situation there actually was, but
that's another thing that you just left up for speculations. You didn't specify
right.
what he meant by that, and it was not worded well.
Right. The opportunities LTT presented me were nothing in comparison to the day-to-day issues I faced. It did not matter if I spoke to someone with evidence of an abuse of power or inappropriate workplace behavior, it was considered tattletaling. I was actually called a tattletale. Yeah, that's not great. I was told I was bossy when I was trying to be assertive, like I was asked to do. I was told I was arguing when I was trying to discuss my point of view. And I was told to calm my tits and stop being such a bitch, and other comments to similar effects. There were numerous instances of misinformation being given to me purposefully to negatively impact my work. I only know this because coworkers would tell me they overheard the actual information I should have been given. It felt like a horrible teenage drama movie. I believe that.
Yeah.
work from home was a whole issue. That was an issue everywhere for everybody. When you're the social media lead posting TikToks for a company, I don't know. It's hard to post them when you're not at work.
Mm-hmm.
If you took 3 minutes to answer a personal email, you could get in trouble. Well, when you're using work time, that is how that works. You're using the work computer and work time to answer personal emails. That's just kind of not ideal. I also don't get bitching about it. There's a system of micromanaging and a level of distrust because the amount of content they have to push out daily is so insane. No one gets a break. That's an actual problem. That is like the big problem of this week that like needs to be addressed. I remember getting told off for taking my sick days, as in days you're entitled to. Again, I want to know who told her off. Because Linus has spoke many times about how sick days should just be a thing and whatever. This no days off grind set culminated in the real moment I realized I had to leave. I purposefully cut my leg open so badly I'd have to go to the ER to get it stapled back together. It was genuinely the only way in my mind to take a day off work without being harassed for a reason why. I'd spoken to managers about how I was struggling and the workload was too much for one person, but I was belittled and told, you just have bad time management skills. Yikes. Now, I get seeing that as the only way out, like I actually do. But, no, I'm not even going to hit it with a but. Like, I get it. Workload still confuses me. I don't. And maybe it's just because I'm an asshole who does too much. Like,
I was about to say.
Maybe it's just that. But I also just, because I also sit here, do too much, and then complain to myself that I'm not doing more. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just an asshole. And don't.
Maybe they should just hire you.
Maybe, but like maybe I'm just an asshole who doesn't actually get what it should be, right?
Right.
I don't know what the proper balance is. Maybe that's just it, and I'm a bad person to have talking about this. Maybe for the same reasons that, not for all of the stuff, but for maybe the same reasons that when they brought this to Linus, he just said you have bad time management skills. Because Linus is like me and just does things constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
well,
it's the ADHD thing we're just doing always. And maybe it's also because it's Linus's business and this is my business. So you put the extra effort in where maybe somebody else won't because it's not theirs.
All right.
And I just don't know.
Other people, that's the thing, you know, your life depends on what you do.
Right.
You know, she still has a personal life or wants to have a personal life, you know, it's just a job to her, you know.
Right.
She doesn't have the emotional attachment to the job that you and Linus has.
Right. And that might be why for that part, I shouldn't maybe be speaking about what's good work and life balance. Cause
like a person like me,
I don't
who
know.
has a lot of, you know, I do a lot of different stuff personally. And to me, when I read that Twitter, I thought, damn, that's a lot. But
also, think about it in the case of what you do for work and having your 8-hour day be just to do those things. To me, that seems like it's not that much. But I don't know.
But I had more of a problem with it because she made it sound like it was 7 days a week. You know.
Yeah, and I don't think so because all of LTT has weekends off, like guaranteed. Just
so now it's just a normal job.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 8 hours a day to come up with that
3
amount
tweets,
of stuff.
2 Instagram posts, and 2 TikToks. Like, come on, man.
It's not like you have to be extravagant about everything you do. I mean,
no.
Just kind of post
TikTok,
an update on what's going on.
Right? Like,
you know?
Film a behind the scenes of Linus dropping something.
Right. They're doing something different every single day. You could literally just do the same video
and
of
there's
the same.
So much tech in there. Just grab something and fuck with it. Like their warehouse is insane. So like that's. But again, maybe I'm just not the person to speak in this scenario, and I will own up to maybe I'm not the best for that talk because I am a psychopath. So
right. Yeah, because like the whole 7 days a week thing. Like my job, sure, I only work a couple 2-3 hours a day, but I work 7 days a week. And after a while, I do get tired. You know,
Yeah.
I do get tired of having to get up every morning at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and go do my job, even though I'm only out there for 2 or 3 hours, you know, and then have the rest of the day off. But
See, but
there's
then
probably
there's me.
somebody
I
out there.
also work 7 days a week, but
Right.
I don't know. I get up every day, mostly excited to do it.
Right. It's something that you're excited for. To
Right.
me, this is just a job that I
Right.
have to have this to survive.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, so now I guarantee you somebody could watch this video and say, oh, dude, he only works 2 or 3 hours a day and then has the whole rest of the day off. Oh, man, he's got it easy, you know,
Right.
because he might be they might be working, you know, 6
12
days a
hours
week
a
on
day.
12-hour
Yeah.
shifts. Yeah. You know, so, you know, it's just a basic perspective. If it was a lot for her, it was a lot for her, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
It just is what it is.
yeah.
Do I think that she probably should have, you know, it was a good thing for her to move on to go try and find something that she's more mentally, you know,
Absolutely.
into? Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
You know, she obviously was not in a place where she could
Oh my God.
mentally, you know, digest all that was going on.
So I don't even think we're halfway done with her tweets yet. So we're still cooking. There's so many instances that led up to that moment. Some of them I've replayed over and over, asking myself, what did I do wrong? How could I have changed the situation? But I don't think I could have. I was not treated fairly, and in the moment, I couldn't even see that because I was told I was the problem by people I had looked up to for years. I had coworkers come to me saying, I didn't like how you were treated. Glad you got out. And only then did I realize it wasn't for me, or it wasn't me. Jesus, I'm struggling. I haven't shared any of this besides with my closest friends and family because I couldn't, at the time, take any more hits to my mental health. I couldn't deal with how small and worthless the job had made me feel, all to push out some mediocre shit posts. Well, if they were mediocre shit posts, that's kind of on you. It was your job. I'm so sorry. But that's... If you think the content was shit, that is literally your fault. You were making it. That's... I'm sorry. That's how that works. I don't... I'm sorry. That's fucked. I'm still scared shitless of what the response will be since I'm a woman and I've already been called dramatic. I'm not stating what happened to me because I'm seeking clout. I'm stating it because it's been eating at me for 2 years. There are genuinely amazing, compassionate, and incredibly intelligent people who work at this company and are driven to share the cool tech they love. It sucks that ego and a bottom line are slowly destroying some of them and hurting the entire reputation of the company. I didn't ever want to say anything for fear of hurting those people and their employment, but at this point I'm hurting myself keeping this all in, while also being constantly bombarded with questions about LTT and jokes made at my expense. I've been patient and tried to ignore these comments. Some of you don't understand the mental anguish and nights of crying, feeling like I did something wrong and ruined my life that I've had to go through. This was my dream job. I was at my dream job and they spoke to me like I was nothing. I can't express to you how worthless I felt. That's valid. They seem to hire young people who don't know any better for some roles and then get away with this over and over. This wasn't just my dream job. It is a dream job. There's so many more stories of horrible things and shows of ego that I witnessed while working there, but I just needed to get out at least some of what I experienced because it has been 2 years and every day I see people speculate, and it's another day I'm forced to feel small. Also, I meant to add that yes, that Glassdoor review was me. It was, at the time, the only way I felt I could safely express, I don't know what this post was, but anything that had happened, since any time I had previously tried, I would be crucified by fans sticking up for who they loved. The things said by Linus about talking to management and HR and promises about how things are handled internally were a gross misrepresentation of what actually goes on behind those doors. I remember he posted this in response to people speculating something wrong had happened to me. So he had posted, for obvious reasons, there won't be an official statement disclosing private details about my dealings with any of our current or former staff. You and Reddit can stop asking. This was a post on the forum, not her. On a separate note, no NDA or other agreement can prevent a Canadian from reporting workplace mistreatment, including but not limited to harassment, discrimination, or unlawful termination. They can post it publicly, submit a statement to the authorities, or do both for good measure, as long as it was true and it wouldn't be defamatory. If I'm ever actually accused of a crime or other misdemeanor, or this is ever actually brought up, including any violation of employment law, sure you'll be able to read all about it on Dexerto. For now, it appears that we are in the clear. She goes on to say it pretty much says, no one's come out against us, therefore we've done no wrong. No, but it does say if there's workplace misconduct, you should go through the proper channels to report that. That is like a big thing, and I know how hard it can be to come forward about things, and I get it. But also, you don't get to say, well, nobody's accused us of it, so we do no wrong, while you're actively not accusing them of it. Like,
right.
That's not, come on. When I read this, I was fuming with upset. Well, that's a typo of some kind. Fuming with upset, because what a dick thing to post when you were at least partially aware of the treatment your employee was getting from your higher-ups. Which means Linus wasn't fully aware, so he wasn't part of it, to me, is how that reads. Because this was a post from Linus. She said she was upset because what a dick thing to post when you were at least partially aware. So, through somebody else telling him, maybe? But to me, that reads as he wasn't the guy doing anything.
Amen.
Which, good.
It
It's
sounds
better.
like
I don't have
she's
to
more
just hate
upset with
him.
him because he didn't do something about
Which
supposed.
is also why he stepped down as CEO. Because
Mhm.
he doesn't know how to handle that part. He's like me. He just wants to make the video. But yeah, I don't know what I expected from someone who would mock others for not knowing who they were. I don't know. Apparently, this took a turn. I was asked about my sexual history, my boyfriend's sexual history, how I liked to fuck, and was told that certain issues were sexual tension and I should just take the coworker out on a coffee date to ease it out. Who the fuck? Weird. I was asked to twerk for a coworker at one point. Weird. I was told I was chunky, fat, ugly, and stupid. Called the R and F slur that I am not gonna say because I like my job. Yikes. And at any point I could bring up these comments, I would get told, oh, we will have a chat with them. Nothing ever came of it. The day I handed in my notice was when someone who constantly overstepped me, misled what I was working on, and who I was said. Okay, I'm going to reread this because commas are not in the right spot. English is stupid, but this was tough. The day I handed in my notice was when someone who constantly overstepped me, misled what I was working on, and who I was, I don't know how you mislead who you are, but whatever, said to me, I think the reason you try to be funny is because you lack any other skills, smiled and walked away. I quit 15 minutes later. It hurts when people compare where I am now to where I was then because, yeah, I had a bigger audience. Yeah, I made more money on Twitch, but I didn't know if I wanted to even exist, if the person I looked up to could treat me and other people I respected like pawns. That's not open. It sucks because that was what I had worked for years. I had tried to get noticed by this big company and this cool guy I respected, and because of that, I was willing to get shit on for that job, yelled at, and degraded. I was also the one tasked with managing the OnlyFans account, which is something I didn't want to do. Now I do want to specify the LTT OnlyFans account. There was no nudity posted by LTT. That wasn't a thing. I believe it actually was just pictures of fans, like computer fans, because, like, haha. I wouldn't know. I never actually paid for it because I'm not stupid. But I had to read comments from people talking about how they wanted to fuck me and my coworkers. I saw people's D's and V's, because people are weird on OnlyFans and just send in the DMs pictures of themselves.
Mhm.
I said no and was told only a little longer, which, unfortunately, as part of your job as social media coordinator, running that OnlyFans account would be part of that.
Yep.
I don't know. If you want to say that I'm just hopping on a bandwagon, that's fine. Doesn't take away from the very real experiences I had, or that sharing these without current events would have gotten me persecuted for attacking a company most of you until a few days ago thought was perfect, which is valid. This is the when it rains it pours type thing. Because, yeah, if she comes out with this a week ago, everybody just goes, no. Because they hadn't done anything wrong. They also forced me to have them as my representation if I wanted to take any sponsors for my Twitch or YouTube channels, which I actually think is good because they know what the fuck they're talking about.
Mhm.
Originally, I'd been told just to make sure you okay things by us for non-compete issues. Then that changed when I moved to take the job. To be clear, this meant I couldn't seek any companies to represent me to brands for sponsorships, which I think is fine because LTT is really good at that, and they already have working relationships with these brands. Something important for making a living on Twitch or YouTube, but LTT wasn't doing this for me. They were just going to take any traffic I gained myself, make a deal, and take a cut. I don't know if that's true, and by the way you're saying that, that never happened. I eventually got all the money back that they would have taken when I called out that their calculations for the cut should have been taking were being before any sort of supplies were reimbursed, even though in the contracts there was a set aside amount for supplies. I'm still angry that for a year I was forced to sit under them while they weren't doing anything a company would do to really represent you, and somehow a big corporation gets the math wrong on how they should be paying you. Welcome to big. I also don't think you can call a place with 100 employees a big corporation. Not really.
Right.
That's a small business. A company's paying you $600 and $100 they give you specifically to spend on their platform for the content. The cut LTT was trying to take was the total $700, not the $600 that was the actual payment. I had to talk to multiple people before this was rectified. Also, apparently some managers didn't like me because I hadn't gotten drunk with them before, which was said in a haha, just joking, but actually I'm serious tone. Unfortunately, I think this is just in the corporate world in general, but specifically in the tech world and the like content creator world, if you don't drink with people or party with them or whatever, a lot of times they won't respect you. And like, yeah, like that's a real thing and it's gross.
Right. Well, they view it as like they're outcasting you because you're outcasting yourself from them, you know, which
Yep.
it shouldn't be an issue. You're there to do a job, you know. You're not there to party with your employees
Yeah, right.
or employers, I should say.
After I came forward about being assaulted, someone accused Linus of inappropriate conduct on Twitter. He came over to my corner and started berating her, calling her insane, mentally ill, and attention seeker, and just digging into this poor woman who had felt wronged by him. Well, so I remember that, and it's because she straight up just lied.
Mm-hmm.
That like actually was a real thing. I also remember the
Right.
corner I was in, people would sneak up and try to scare me. After the incident, I was nervous about this and requested a mirror so I could see behind me. I watched coworkers get what I had asked for weeks before they did. It took 2 months to get mine. Similar things would happen whenever I requested anything. I needed more RAM installed in my PC for months because I was expected to edit RED footage, which is basically a cinema camera. They shoot at 8K. I want one, but they're like 150 grand. So like a house. It took 5 months and a writer being kind enough to do it for me when the numerous requests I sent in were ignored or put off. I would go to management for help and get told I could handle it myself. Eventually, I was pulled into a meeting for insubordination because I had gone around the system for requesting RAM after I was ignored for months and dealing with my PC crashing and losing work daily. There was an incident where I requested a $15 notebook. Keep in mind, I had made maybe $25 of purchase requests in my entire time working at this company. I requested the notebook to help with my poor time management skills and got denied because you don't need it, you have lined paper. That's ridiculous. Also, you make notebooks on lttstore.com. Give her one.
Right. Go walk over here and pick
they
one up.
might not have at that point, so that's not fair. But also, still, just it's a fucking notebook. Though, a $15 notebook? Now,
Let's say,
that's a lot of money for a notebook.
how about a $5 notebook? Do the same thing.
And this is not me being an asshole, but this, like, hardcover notebook was not $15. So what were you buying? That's a weird thing for me to talk about, but like a $15 notebook sounds nutty. You can get those like big 5-rule ones for like $2.
Right. But then again, where do they live? Or where is this based out of?
Well, Canada, but still.
Well, everything there is more expensive.
Not that much. So it'd be like $5. Because yeah, it'd be like $5, maybe. But moving on. I was upset and responded back that this was different. No, then bam, another meeting, Madison. Why were you rude and non-communicative with your manager? I didn't mean to be. I was told no, but then I got in trouble because they said they didn't know I was still upset. Got to me being at my desk and I get a message saying, I did know you were still upset because you never emailed me back. I didn't know. As this post gets on, there are more and more errors, which is weird. Is it just the anger welling up as she talks about it? Or is it like, I don't know. The errors have started getting wild. Hard to read. They had lied in front of the big boss to make me look bad, and worst of all, I know if I brought this up, I would be the one getting reprimanded for tattling. There were also numerous times I would be asked why I couldn't just check up on socials or do little jobs during the weekend because it's social media, so is it really working? Now that's kind of fucked up. But also checking the socials is, I also get not doing it if you're not getting paid, so I'm not going to say
Right.
it. I'm sure there will be more things I remember and wish I had mentioned in this thread in the coming hours, but for now, please don't attack individuals who don't actually have power at this company. Most of them are blameless or powerless to actually change anything. Also, why didn't you take legal action? I had just quit my job, was scared shitless of this company, felt like I was worthless, and personally, I don't have millions of dollars to throw at legal fees, which is fair. When I left, I was told they would announce I parted ways from the company on WAN Show. I said no, unless you make sure to clearly state that I quit. They then never mentioned it on WAN Show. I've heard that HR meeting recording, and please note all the allegations that the management heard are referred to as drama. Imagine how you would feel trying to say anything when that is the exact response you would be given. In that recording, you will hear someone making inappropriate jokes. You will hear the situation be belittled. You'll also hear that there's an internal want for you to go directly to whoever wronged you, to have a one-on-one chat, removing any sort of HR interference. Imagine someone calls you dog shit and your response is, "Oh no, go talk to them about it." I mean, yeah, that is kind of my first response.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm going to
no.
confront you.
Right? Keeps happening and there's no record of it because you were instructed to just talk to them, HR, who just also happened to be an active owner of the company. That is a little weird. The HR lady is Linus's wife, which isn't
Yeah.
ideal, but hey.
No, it should be an outside entity or a specific person that you've hired to be there, not somebody that you're married to.
Oh, that was an insanely long thread. Jesus.
No kidding.
That was a lot. Oh my God, is there more? Oh, this is a different this is a different thread. Okay. I'm not getting into that one. That was, oh, fuck. It's too much for me. But yeah, a lot of people are.
When it rains, it pours, I guess.
But yeah, a lot of people are attacking her. A lot of people are attacking LTT, and probably all of it's deserved. Well, all of the attacks on LTT might be, at least in most parts. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
It's insane. I hope they figure out whatever's going on. Like I said, Linus Tech Tips put out a tweet. God, this entire episode was just this. You thought it wouldn't last that long. We're an hour 30 in. When's the last time we did an hour 30 long podcast, man?
It's been a couple podcasts, that's for sure.
So LTT put out a tweet. We are taking Madison's allegations seriously. We're conducting an internal assessment alongside bringing in a third-party investigator to look into the allegations. We are committed to publishing the findings and implementing any corrective actions that may arise due to this. Thank you for the patience. Thank you for your patience, and please allow us the time necessary to be as thorough as possible in this investigation. In addition to our existing report system, both anonymous and otherwise, we've proactively reached out internally today to encourage our team members to report any workplace bullying or harassment they might be experiencing so we can take a quick and decisive action. These allegations do not align with our company's ethics or values we preach internally. We aim to provide an inclusive work environment where everyone can feel comfortable and, more importantly, safe. Yeah.
That's a lot. It's a lot to absorb.
So much. So then LTT put out their own apology video, which a lot of people are mad at, mostly because they made two sponsorship jokes and an LTTstore.com plug joke, which I get all the people who are mad about them making jokes about things, but also they're people. People joke. Humor in bad situations is how some people exist.
Yeah, that's how I do. I tend to be comical in a shitty situation.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to fall to my death, my first thought's going to be, well, at least I didn't burn to death.
Right. Yeah, this.
I don't know.
So they put out this apology video. The new CEO comes out and talks. Yvonne lays out the plan for how they're going to reduce the amount of content they make. Gary, the head of labs, talks about transparency in the work labs does. James, the head of writing, talks about the process of improving their writing process. Ed, the head of production, comes out and talks about communication. Nick from Creator Warehouse comes and talks about quality control. Terran lays out their plan to improve credibility. Colton, who I think is their new HR guy, business lead and whatever, talks about their ethics and sponsorship deals. Luke, who is the head of Float Plane, talks about supporting the rest of the team. And then Linus shows up to talk about everything else. And people brought up, this certainly takes us back to Linus's own words, always judge a company based on how they respond to criticism. And people are saying, yeah, they're not really saying sorry or trying to fix it. And all I can think of is not making videos for a week, not posting anything for a week, just eating it for a while you try to fix things is, to me, like not something bad companies would do. They're trying to fix it. Again, we're judging the company based on how they respond to criticism. Sure, the first response to the criticism wasn't great.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the actual company doing? Not just because technically, while Linus is the owner, he is not running the company anymore.
Nope.
So the things
it's like
he
Elon.
right. Well, no, because Elon still does run the company, but the
Right,
things
but
he
he wants
says
to-
as an angered child, like on his forum, aren't actually speaking for the company. That's speaking for Linus, who is just an employee at this point. Well, yes, he still owns it, but you know what I mean? He is like the...
Mm-hmm.
So... yeah. And again, I'm not trying to just be the defender man. That is not my goal. Yeah, I don't know.
No. Well, at least they're attempting to take steps towards
Right? And
correcting their problems.
the issue is they're taking steps and nobody cares.
Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't matter what you do; you're not going to make everybody happy. So
Yeah.
that's just part of being popular and well known. Like,
Dude,
you're going to
what
do
the
something that's
fuck?
going to piss some people off.
I also just get mad at the people who just say things that like are actively not true. He's an NVIDIA fraud. He's been an NVIDIA fraud for years, which they're basically saying he's like an NVIDIA fanboy, does whatever he says, except that they've multiple times called NVIDIA out for being shitty, specifically
Mhm.
so bad to the point where NVIDIA wouldn't work with them anymore. He's never been a shill. You're just a moron. Like, that's insane to me. People just, I know you can't please everybody, but they've just found ways to just try to tear it down no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's just people that are angry these days, and they just want to be angry.
I get it.
They-
I'm angry.
Yeah, yeah, and I understand being angry and stuff, but don't try to shit on other people's parade because you're angry for no reason. You know,
Sure. I shit on your parade because I'm angry for no reason.
I know, but I accept my role as the fall guy. So
Like I said, we're very open and honest about what happens here.
mhm.
You guys see how it is on the streams. We yell at each other. Just
Yeah, you
constant.
wouldn't think we're friends at all on stream, especially when we play that game called Valorant.
Valorant can get you. It can turn good friends into the worst of enemies, and the worst of enemies into good friends. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes all at the same time.
Sometimes you.
Sometime in the same match, you become friends and enemies, and back to friends again.
Yeah.
But
An hour and a half long podcast. Though some of these people saying Linus should have taken that over $100 million offer to buy him out. Fucking maybe. At this moment, I bet he regrets saying no to that.
right, yeah,
But,
I don't know. I'll take 100 million.
well, you'd have to have a company as big as LTT. or LMG, I guess, is Yvonne Umbrella Corporation. It's unfortunate that I don't know if there will be an LTX next year, so I don't get to fulfill my plans. But at this moment, I'm not too sure there will be an LTT next year, so yeah.
I do not know. But
Yeah. Dude, all these people, this response where they're just reading from a teleprompter is really just disingenuous. No, because they don't want to make mistakes in what they're saying. Well,
right, they're
you
already
know, PR speak to cover their ass doesn't feel as natural as just speaking from the heart and making a few mistakes. The mistakes are why they're in this situation in the first place. No mistakes.
I was about to say, speaking from the heart is what got them in this place in the first place.
Yeah,
Because
right.
they spoke their mind.
Right?
Emotion is what got them in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, dummies.
Right. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. But we also have to stop pretending Linus's responses are LTT responses because it's not. But it's wild. Well, I don't know what else to say.
No, I'm all out of things to say.
That was a
as
lot
well.
of that was a lot.
Mhm.
But yeah. So the other wild part about this, they canceled WAN Show this week. Their podcast where Linus goes in front of the community and talks live with Luke, and they canceled it, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal, except they're on a streak longer than ours with that podcast, and they canceled it this week.
That's nutty.
Yeah. We are on a 184 episode streak. Theirs was longer.
Mhm. Yep.
Theirs was pre-pandemic. Ours was like the beginning of pandemic. It's insane that they actually canceled it. I was not expecting that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess let us know in the comments what you think of the whole LTT situation and whether you even care. Was this a waste of an hour and a half of your life? Maybe. Am I going to end up somehow looking for the bad guy here? Maybe. I probably shoved my foot in my mouth. I don't know. I just speak, bro. I just hit you with my thoughts, which is exactly why Linus is in the position he's in, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. You just don't have $100 million company.
That's
yet,
true.
so-
I also don't have employees,
Yeah.
and probably never will. I'll just contract the work out. But yeah, that's all I've got. So, you got anything?
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks for
Bye.
watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.